Welcome to Dollars and Cents. Our podcast is designed to provide listeners with financial advice in a language you can understand. Created and hosted by Marc Freedman, President and CEO at Freedman Financial, he discusses timely topics that help individuals and families make smart financial decisions. Count on lots of energy, candid discussion, and a few laughs. And now, here's your host of Dollars and Cents, Marc Freedman of Freedman Financial.
Welcome back to another edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial. My name is Marc Freedman.
And I'm Marion Gilman.
And we're here to provide you with some financial advice in a language you can understand. We're heading into the summer months. Actually, summer is almost started, right?
Yeah, June 21st.
So we're not there yet. So,
not quite.
But it's starting to feel a little like
Almost
summer.
there, yeah.
The flowers are out, the trees are green.
I understand the beginning of next week it's going to be in the 90s.
Wow, that's a little
That's
warm.
kind of scary,
Yeah, well, usually summertime means time for travel. And we thought we'd spend a little bit of time talking about travel because travel is one of those things that falls into that category of how's the economy doing? Because if the economy is doing well, people don't feel so uncomfortable traveling.
That's right.
And then I did some traveling.
You did, didn't you? You just had a very exciting trip.
And you're about to go on a pretty exciting trip.
Well, yes, but, tell us about yours.
Well,
yours was a memory maker.
Well, it was. I mean, I think that's what travel has become all about.
Absolutely.
As we have different types of wealth. I mean, we're not necessarily a fixed income economy anymore. We're ones that have some flexibility in resources.
We might want to explain what a fixed income economy is.
Oh, you're absolutely right. This is financial advice in a language you can understand.
That's right, yeah.
Would you care to categorize what a fixed income economy is?
Well, either way, but the fixed income economy, it used to be that people who retired were dependent upon Social Security for their income and typically a pension by the company they worked for or the government, whomever they worked for. And they didn't really have a lot of savings in place, which meant that they were on a fixed income every month. It was very similar to when they were working. Money came in and money went out. So it's very different nowadays.
Yeah, it was not like a position where there was discretionary funds to draw on. There wasn't,
exactly.
Oh, I have an IRA account I can pull money from, or a big brokerage account, or money in the bank. It was, you knew what was coming in, and you had enough money coming in to support your life, and that's the world that you lived in.
Right. You didn't have $20,000 to pull out for a vacation if you needed to for the family.
And when you died, what did you have to pass on to the family?
The house.
That was about it.
Right.
Maybe $1,000 or $2 in the bank, if that. And that was about it because the pension stopped, Social Security stopped.
Right.
That's it. So the world we live in today is very different. The number of people collecting pensions continues to shrink and shrink and shrink. And so there's this greater reliance on your role in saving money for your future.
Correct.
But also saving money, spending money for now, saving money for the future, and whether you do it in your 401k plan, a Roth IRA, an IRA, personal savings. Perhaps there's inheritances that you receive or gifts that come in the way. People have a lot more money.
Absolutely. And, there are a lot of people who will say, oh, well, it was so much better when we had pensions and Social Security. We knew what was coming in. We had guaranteed income streams. However, there are others who have built up resources because they've saved diligently over the years. And sometimes those people are a lot happier not necessarily having a pension where it's simply a fixed income, rather they have a pool of funds. So this year, if you want to take a big vacation when you're younger, say you've just retired, you're healthy, I want to spend, $20,000 this year on travel, well, you have the resources to do that. You don't have to wait for that monthly income.
That's right. That's right. I mean, some people, you save for a period of time and then it used to be you'd save an amount of money for a period of time, maybe whatever it was, a vacation, a bicycle, a car.
Right.
You'd save the money and then you'd pull it out. Today, it's kind of a mixture of the two. You're saving, but the cash flow that's coming into most households is larger and greater than it has ever been before.
That's right. And you do have resources from all those sources that you just mentioned.
Right. And so, when we think about the economy, there's going to be a lot of discussions about whether the economy is good, is bad, is there's a lot of different things, especially with the elections coming up. It's a very personal decision. I mean, I think for the clients that we serve, for the community that we live in, I think economically our clients are doing quite well.
Absolutely. And many of them are able to have discretionary money that they can travel with. And so, Marc, tell us a little bit about your travels, because I think it's an extraordinary thing that you've done with the family.
Well, I don't know if it's extraordinary. I mean, it's something that we like to do.
Fun.
It's fun. So, one of the commitments that we had made, we have 5 children, as you well know. During COVID, of course, when Corey and Noah were graduating from high school, no one traveled anywhere. We just basically stayed at home.
Yeah.
So
those four walls.
Our deal was to each of the kids that Laura and I would take each child upon graduation to any place in the world they wanted to go. And for the most part, they all had never really been to Europe. So, we picked a different location in Europe, and that's where we would go. Well, the boys didn't get to go and do that. So I took my 2 boys, Corey and Noah. We flew to London a couple weeks ago. And both of my boys are into musical theater. And so we went to see shows, Broadway shows, every night. Broadway style shows, because Broadway shows happen on Broadway.
Right.
The London theater shows in the West End. And they were remarkable. One of the things that's very interesting, if you ever think about going to London and you want to get tickets for a show, tickets are probably a third of what they cost here in New York or Boston or whatever. And the theaters are smaller, they're more intimate. And by the way, there's leg room in the seats.
Wow.
Yeah, there's
something you don't find in New York necessarily.
You don't. It's really remarkable. They do a super nice job of doing that. So, we wanted to give the boys this experience, because that's what these travel trips are all about, exposing them to different cultures, different items, different things, and allowing them to see the world. And the way I might see London is different from how the boys would see London. And you see that too when you travel, right?
Absolutely. So we travel a lot with my son as well. And it's very exciting to see a place through your children's eyes. It gives you a very different perspective than you might have on your own.
Yeah, I always used to say, we're big Disney fans, as many people know. And the Disney experience, each year you go, is a little bit different. And if you're going with a first timer to Disney, wow, their eyes but they've never been to anything like this. My boys and girls, well, all the kids today, I mean, they know Disney as well as they know the directions to their bedroom in the house. I mean, they know how to get around pretty well.
And you did have a Disney experience, didn't you?
We did. When we took the boys over to London, we decided to take the Eurostar train, which goes through what's called the Channel, which is an underground tunnel that connects London to mainland Europe, or I should say Great Britain to mainland Europe. And we took the Channel train into Paris and headed over to Disneyland Paris. Now, who thinks of saying, oh, we're going to Paris, but we're not going to see the Louvre, we're not going to see the Eiffel Tower, we're not going to see the Arc de Triomphe, we're going to see none of that stuff, not going to walk the Champs-Élysées. Instead, we're going to go down Main Street, I think just called Main Street, in Disneyland Paris.
There you go.
Because the boys love Disneyland.
But
I will tell you this.
Each his own.
Yeah, if you want to travel to see some of these Disney parks, this Disney park is very different. Very different. You walk through Disney, and there's large amounts of people, of course. None of them are wearing anything that has Disney symbolism on it whatsoever. No Disney logos, no Mickey Mouse shirts.
Very different from Disneyland
it's
and
very
Disney
European,
World. Yeah, very
plain
European.
clothing, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and
they don't wear a lot of logos.
Yeah. So let me give you a couple little tips and hints when you travel. Perhaps you're going to Europe. Perhaps you're doing a riverboat cruise. Perhaps you're going somewhere outside of the United States where you're going to need a passport. A couple things that I learned. Number one is everyone's always asking, Marc, how much cash do I need to bring on this trip?
Cash.
What do you think?
Cash. Zero.
Who uses cash, right?
Well, in Europe, I mean, it's shocking. And, long before we had a cashless, or primarily cashless society in the U.S., they had a cashless society in Europe. I remember being in a coffee shop, and I don't believe and this was at least 15 years ago, and I don't think one person was paying with cash.
No. And
I was the only one.
So what I thought was interesting, about 15 years ago as well, Laura and I were visiting friends in Belgium, and they had a plumber that happened to come by the house, do some repairs. And I was waiting for them to write a check when he handed them the invoice.
Right.
And all they did was they sent payment, like we do now, through Zelle or something like that.
Really?
This was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I said, do you write checks? And they go, What's a check?
Yeah.
So
It's amazing.
you know how slow we are in America to adapt. We think we're at the forefront of everything. This is one of those places where Europe and other countries are far more advanced than we are in the exchange of trade.
Right.
Um,
That being said, it is good to have a little bit of cash because there are times when you want to tip somebody, and although tipping is not quite as prominent in Europe as it is in the U.S., there are times, when baggage handlers and all, you want to tip them. And so what do you do to get cash? You order in advance, right?
No, do not order.
The trip packs
Yeah,
or whatever.
no, you don't
I
need
remember
to get a trip
that.
pack. You don't need to get traveler's checks.
Oh, I don't think anyone even knows what those are anymore.
No, but the worst place when you arrive at the airport or while you're leaving Logan or wherever you're leaving, the worst place to exchange money is at a currency exchange booth.
The worst.
But people see currency exchange. Oh, I need to get money. I need to go there. That is the worst.
Try to exchange U.S. dollars, cash, physical dollars for euros. Oh,
It's
terrible.
It's not worth it.
Terrible.
Secondarily, though, if you do need cash, where would you, you're in Europe, where would you get the cash from, Marion?
An ATM machine.
But not the little ones in a pizza shop that's the transportable ATMs, just any legitimate bank, right?
Yeah, there are banks all over the place. And as long as, you look at what your banking network is here in the U.S., I don't know,
the Cirrus line.
Cirrus, Sum, I think is one.
There's a whole bunch
all
of them.
different ones. As long as you're on the right network, you can put your ATM card in and get out money.
Yeah, any legitimate bank, ATM, wherever you go.
Works great.
It's going to work. But here's something that I learned that, and I'll share this as an example. Oftentimes now when you go to Europe or any other place outside of the United States and you go to pay your restaurant bill, buy something, you generally hand them the credit card and then they take it and they walk off here in America, right? And then they come back with your check to sign. Well, that doesn't happen in Europe or many other places. They bring the machine to you.
Right.
Right? And so I happen to be in Harrods, which is this fancy department store in London. I'm with the boys and I bought this Taylor Swift coffee table book for my daughter Mindy. And the book was 33 pounds, 33 Great Britain pounds. And I go up to the register and I, get ready to pay for the thing. And it shows up on the machine and it says Great Britain pounds, 33 pounds, or US dollars, and it said 55. Because, there's an exchange that goes on, $55. Right. And so it says, which would you like to pay? Would you like to pay in pounds or in dollars? What would you suggest? What would you select if that was in front of you?
Think about that.
Because that gets presented all day long. Would you like to pay in euro? Right, all day. In euros or dollars, or pounds and dollars? What would you choose? There is a right answer to that question.
There is.
And what's the right answer, Marion?
It's not U.S. dollars.
It is not.
No.
Because if you choose U.S. dollars, you have just paid a premium on what you were buying. So let me explain to you. So I happen to use my Salem 5 debit card to pay for the item at Harrods. And so fortunately on my Salem 5 card, whenever I charge something, I get an immediate notification to my watch that tells me you've just paid this amount in US dollars. Well, it said Great Britain, the pounds, it was 33 pounds or 53 US dollars was my choice there. I chose pounds. And it comes back that you were just charged $43 US dollars. Because that's the proper exchange rate. If you choose the currency of the country you're in, they are obligated to use the exchange rate that's issued by the bank. If you choose dollars, you're allowing the department store to put whatever currency markup they want on that transaction.
And you've agreed to it because you've agreed to the dollar transaction.
And so think about this. Harrods, one of the most popular tourist traps in London.
But it is a fascinating department store.
But you do the hop on, hop off bus. Everybody does that, right?
And they bring
Same thing happens. Always
Right.
choose the currency. When you go to the restaurants, you'll get that choice.
Absolutely.
Always choose the current currency.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you learn a lot of stuff as you travel more and more, I think. And even here, when you're making your arrangements, if you're planning tours or something like that, you also get the choice of paying in euros or pounds versus U.S. currency. Once again, always choose the currency of the place you're going, because you'll get a much better exchange rate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that surprised my boys, I think, when we were in London and in France, is the size of the water glass.
The tiny little water glasses.
They give you, you ask for water. We go into restaurants and they'll give you these pint-sized glasses with ice, and it's unlimited water. Well, that's not necessarily the case when you go to Europe. First of all, they're not big fans of ice. And Corey was asking me, he says, Dad, we were taught that you need to continue to drink to stay hydrated and do that. And
they don't drink water.
They don't drink water, but what do they drink?
They drink a lot of wine.
Yep, and beer.
And beer.
And actually soft drinks. But beer and wine are cheaper than the bottles of water. You'll get bottles of water that they serve to you.
Right.
But it really, really blows me away how challenging it can be.
Absolutely. But you learn a lot about the culture when you go these places, and you create experiences for your children, and you open their eyes to a much broader world. And I think that's really important in today's day and age. And also, you make family memories, and what could be better than that? We don't have clients who say, oh, I wish I had another dress or another shirt or whatever it might be, but I wish I had spent a little more time with my family making memories.
Yeah, I always talk about this story of people that take their kids to Disney, and I know I'm going back to Disney for a second, but when you ask a child, what are you most looking forward to when you go to Disneyland or Disney World? And they'll always talk to you about they can't wait to go on a ride, okay? They'll always say that to you. But when they get back, you ask them, what was your favorite part of Disney? And they're not going to necessarily tell you about a ride. They're going to tell you about an experience that they had. And so when we were in London, we did a lot of things. We toured around quite a bit. And so we come back, the boys were very excited about the musical theater thing. We come back, and we're sitting with Laura, because Laura was not able to go with us on this trip. She had to be a participant in a dance recital. That she works at the dance school, of course. And she said to Noah, what was your favorite part of London? And he says, the architecture was amazing.
See?
And I'm like, you never mentioned the word architecture once. I didn't even know you knew that word, let alone the fact that's what was the most compelling and favorite thing, was you were in awe of the architecture in London. Now, had I known that, perhaps we would have done certain tours around that. But that's why you go back, right? That's why you visit places again.
That's right. That's right. But, one of the things that we have to know the answer to, Mark, it's very compelling. Which is your favorite Disney? Because you said Disney Paris wasn't the one you'd go back to.
Disney Paris is not my favorite.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, I think Disney World is actually the best because it's largest and there's so much to do. But each Disney park, I've been to Disneyland in California, I've been to Tokyo Disney, I have been to Hong Kong Disney. The only one I haven't been to is Shanghai, and we'll get that on our bucket list.
It's on the list, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
But each one is different. The foods, when we were at Disneyland Paris, you usually get, the Mickey ice creams, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and they have all these different shapes and things. You're not going to find much of that in Disneyland Paris. You're also not going to find lines at any of the counter service places, because I referred to it, it was like people were going to water country. People bring backpacks and coolers into Disney. They bring their own lunches with them.
Very different experience in here.
Totally different experience.
Yeah.
But the whole point is, it's all about experience, right?
That's right, and being with family.
And being with family and sharing
and
that.
making memories.
Now, look, you're off to Paris.
We
right?
are.
Next week.
But we're going to see the Eiffel Tower.
I'm sure you will. So what is it that you look forward to doing? And is Reed going with you?
Reed is coming with us, yes. So that's my son Reed, and the three of us are going. And actually, one of the things we're looking forward to doing is Reed lived there when he was in college for a semester. And we're going to go back and visit where he lived, because he thinks that was great. He hasn't been back since, and it's been about 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so that will be fun. But honestly, we go to eat. Eat and drink. Yeah, that's our favorite thing. And Paris is just a fabulous place to do that.
Well, if you're planning on traveling, Marion and I have plenty of experiences, lots of stories. frankly, I know it's one of the things that our clients love to listen to when we come in, when they come into the office, and they're talking about whether they're going to go on a riverboat cruise or a trip to Europe or an African safari or something like that. We've generally done a whole bunch of those things collectively, right?
We have. It's one of our passions.
Yeah, and it's lots of stories that we can tell, lots of tips and tricks.
Yeah.
Tips and tricks. But now's the time for you to get serious about your financial planning and investment management needs. Travel planning is one of those things that fall within that scope of financial planning.
And if you want to know how much family trips you can take, financial planning is the key.
It really is. And so we'd love to meet with you. Our phone number, 978-531-8108. That's 978-531-8108. Or visit us on the web. You can find out information about who we are, the types of clients we serve. You can sign up for our newsletter, get all sorts of information. We hide nothing at Freedman Financial. We're a local firm right here in Peabody.
Been around a long time.
Long time. We'd be really happy to help you. How to get to the website, freedmanfinancial.com. That's Freedman.
2 E's and a D.
Financial.com. And that's going to do it for us this week. We'll be back again next week with more financial advice in a language you can understand. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
During today's Dollars and Cents episode with Freedman Financial, your host may have discussed specific financial planning and investment ideas that are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. Please remember that investing involves risk and may include loss of principal. Although the money market fund seeks to preserve the value of your investment at $1 per share, it is possible to lose money by investing in the fund. Always consult a certified financial planner professional, qualified attorney, or tax advisor prior to investing to determine what is appropriate for you. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.